Hey, what is up, phone dogs? Beau HD here, and in this video I want to compare two flagship devices, the recently announced iPhone 6 and the flagship OnePlus One smartphone, which is on an invite-only system right now, but will be ready for pre-order starting in October. So let's go ahead and put these two phones head-to-head to see which one is right for you. So to kick this dogfight off, we have to talk about the design because both devices are very well designed. So if we go ahead and take a look around the two devices, on the iPhone 6 we'll find nothing on the top, the power sleep on-off button on the right hand side above the SIM card slot, the 3.5mm headphone jack, lightning cable port, and speaker grill at the bottom, and then the volume up and down controls and silent toggle switch on the left hand side. On the front of the iPhone 6, we have the ambient light sensor and 1.2 megapixel front-facing camera, with the home button below that also doubles as a fingerprint scanner. And then on the back, we have that protruding 8 megapixel camera with a dual LED flash on the aluminum back cover. On the OnePlus One, you'll find the 3.5mm headphone jack up top with the power sleep on-off button on the right-hand side, the speaker grill and micro USB cable on the bottom, and then the volume controls and SIM card slot on the left-hand side. On the front of the One is the 5 megapixel front-facing camera and ambient light sensors with capacitive touch buttons below for the menu, home, and back commands. And then on the back we'll find the 13 megapixel rear-facing camera, dual LED flash, and sandstone black sandpaper back cover. Now with the iPhone 6, we know that being an Apple product, it's going to be constructed very well. Apple kind of has a reputation for that, as they use high-quality materials in the construction of their products, like aluminum, which is what the iPhone 6 is made from. It's very cool to the touch since it is made from metal, so you get that premium feel to it. And if we take a look up close at the iPhone 6, we'll see that it now has rounded edges, which make it feel much better in the hand since you don't really have those abrupt flat edges anymore. But at the same time, the iPhone 6 is extremely slick. It's one of the more slippery phones I have ever felt thanks to the metal back, round edges, and also due to the fact that it's dang light and thin. This is compared to the OnePlus One, which does a few things differently. First of all, the back cover isn't constructed with aluminum, so you're not going to get that premium cold to the touch feeling when you hold this device, but it does have a one-of-a-kind sandpaper back cover, which actually feels great in the hands. If you've been following me on PhoneDog for a while now, you'll know that I really love the rather unusual design material because, it adds a ton of grip while still retaining the premium feel. Now the OnePlus One also features tapered edges that are definitely more squared off than the iPhone 6. You're not going to see any rounded edges on the OnePlus One, and it doesn't feel quite as non-existent when holding it in the hands, but at the same time you do grip the phone better than the iPhone 6, especially since the sandpaper texture wraps around the sides. So with the OnePlus One you do get more grip than the iPhone 6, but you don't get quite as high quality materials. So it's really going to depend upon what you want in the design of your phone. Now if we power on these two devices, first and foremost you'll immediately notice that the OnePlus One has a larger 5.5-inch 1080p LCD display with a 401 pixel per inch compared to the smaller 4.7-inch 1334 by 750 resolution display with a 326 pixel per inch on the iPhone 6. While both displays look great, the iPhone 6 has the most color accurate display, as whites are very white and colors are very sharp and detailed without being too oversaturated. Now the OnePlus One though still has a great display that actually might be better for watching videos and pictures since it is larger and it's more densely packed with pixels. Although it can look faded at times, and many people have complained of a yellowing of their display when they first started using their OnePlus One, which is due to the way the display is glued to the phone, but apparently it goes away after a few weeks of using the phone. But as far as the processing power goes on these two devices, both these phones are blazing fast. The iPhone 6 is using the latest A8 Apple chip with a 64-bit architecture and a M8 Motion coprocessor that keeps this device running very smoothly. In terms of raw specs, the dual-core processor and 1GB of RAM don't really sound all that impressive at all, but it is very well optimized with iOS 8 in that it's able to compete and often outcompete many of the high-end Android devices that are equipped with much more advanced specs. Games run smooth with very little stuttering or lag, and just navigating throughout the OS is very seamless. The only problems I've found with the iPhone 6 are because of iOS 8. Now iOS 8 is the all-new OS, and since it's so new, it is still very buggy. A lot of the bugs aren't going to affect you that much, A lot of times, certain areas of the phone just glitch out and don't really work right, such as the new third-party keyboard integration. Sometimes it works great, other times it just doesn't really work at all. And there are reports that the camera app crashes from overheating and all sorts of things, which clearly still need to be ironed out and fixed with an update. The OnePlus One, however, is running Android 4.4.4 KitKat, which is the latest version of Android, and it definitely doesn't have quite as many bugs as iOS 8, simply due to the fact that KitKat has been out for a while. But I can honestly say that the OnePlus One is the fastest Android phone I have ever used. It runs CyanogenMod 11S, which is essentially stock Android but with more customizable features. I mean, you can enable or disable software navigation buttons, you can change the theme of your device to make it look like a Samsung Galaxy S5 running TouchWiz, and many other things. And the OnePlus One features a Snapdragon 801 quad-core chip with 3GB of RAM, allowing it to run CyanogenMod extremely well. It's very smooth and responsive. Now, if we take a look at the camera of these two devices, the iPhone 6 takes very nice images. The HDR mode does a great job nailing the exposure, and the time-lapse and 240 FPS slow mode modes are very nice additions in iOS 8. I mean, for an 8-megapixel camera sensor, you really would think it wouldn't be anything special, but Apple has proven that megapixels don't equate to quality, as this 8-megapixel sensor is very good, definitely among the best I've seen this year. The OnePlus One, on the other hand, features a 13-megapixel camera sensor that also delivers great results, but it's not quite as well-rounded as the iPhone 6 camera. I mean, the exposure is often hit or miss when taking HDR images. Sometimes it works great, but other times just not so much. But with that said, as you can see, I have taken some impressive shots, and since it is a 13-megapixel camera sensor, the images that turn out well can be cropped, and they will still retain a lot of the quality, more so than the iPhone 6. So if you do a lot of cropping of images, then this might win it for you. But the last thing I want to talk about and highlight is battery life, because both of these phones perform pretty well. So with the OnePlus One, we have a 3100 mAh battery that performs very well. I can easily say I get a full day of use out of it with no problems at all. Sometimes even two, depending on how much I actually use my phone. I mean, the only thing I don't really like about it is that you can't remove the battery and replace it in case it stops working like it's supposed to. But then again, you can't really replace the battery on the iPhone 6, so for comparison's sake, I guess it really doesn't matter. But really the same can be said about the iPhone 6, and that battery life lasts throughout the day. Is it as good as the OnePlus One? No, not quite. You will still need to charge it every day so that you don't have to worry about having to charge it the next day. But inside the iPhone 6 is a 1810 mAh battery, which is significantly smaller than the OnePlus One battery. So the battery life difference makes sense. I mean, the fact that the iPhone 6 is so damn skinny generally means that the battery life is going to suffer. So overall, we have two great devices, ultimately separated by their software. I mean, both the physical hardware of the two devices are quite impressive. It's really going to depend upon whether or not you want a large display and whether or not you're set on metal or not, because honestly, I kind of prefer the sandpaper back cover on the OnePlus One, but hey, maybe that's just me. But what will really convince you is the software and the price. iOS or Android, and off-contract pricing and on-contract pricing. Because if we first take a look at the price of the two phones, the OnePlus One is priced starting at $299 off-contract for the white 16GB version and $350 off-contract for the 64GB sandstone black version, both of which are much cheaper than the off-contract price of the iPhone 6, which will set you back around $650 for the 16GB variant. So that alone might be a determining factor if you're looking to buy an off-contract smartphone. But the other question you should ask yourself is iOS or Android, because it depends on how heavily invested you are in either OS. If you want to heavily customize your OS, then hands down, CyanogenMod takes the cake. It allows you to customize just about everything you could possibly want. But if you're invested in Mac, maybe you have a MacBook Pro or something like that, and would like just a simple OS that just works like the manufacturer intended it to, then the iPhone 6 is right for you. Oh, and also I want to add that if you're heavily invested in Google products and Android Wear devices, then you're probably going to want to go ahead and go with the CyanogenMod phone, the OnePlus One, since Apple won't quite cut it in terms of compatibility, although I will give them credit for allowing quite a lot of Google apps, more than I thought. But yeah, with that said, that's basically how I can sum up these two devices. If you had to pick between these two devices, let me know which device you would pick by leaving me a comment down below. But as always, I'm Beau HD from PhoneDog.com. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. See ya.